What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the shelf, and as you can see, we are back in front of the shelf, which means that today we're talking about physical media yet again. Now, it's been almost a month since my last physical media video, so I thought I would take this time to sort of check in and let you guys know where I'm at with this whole thing mentally and just sort of what my collection curation process is going to continue to look like as we move forward. Now, if you're just kind of joining me for the first time on this channel, just to kind of briefly catch you up to speed, I'm somebody who used to be very big into collecting and really wanted to have a collection that was large just sort of for the sake of it, right? It was sort of a very shallow endeavor. And as, you know, time's gone by, I've amassed all my favorite movies as well as some movies that I don't necessarily want to own anymore. So now I'm in a state where I'm just trying to slim the collection down, get it to be really lean, no fat on it whatsoever, all bangers, all killer, no filler, if you will. And every day it's sort of a struggle because the temptation is out there every time I go on the internet to spend money, to buy stuff that I don't necessarily think that I need. For example, Second Sight is a label that we're going to talk about today. And they announced a release of a movie that I really like, The Innkeepers. This is a cool Ty West movie. Really cool movie. I own this Blu-ray, and that release of the Second Sight release of The Innkeepers, it looks really cool, I'm not gonna lie. And I was tempted to buy it, but ultimately, I don't think I am gonna buy it. And today we're gonna kind of get into why I have come to those decisions, right? Because when it comes to buying movies, I feel like for me personally, there is a mental checklist that I sort of run down in my head. And if I say yes to like one or more of these questions, then that means that it's probably a good idea for me to buy this movie. So what are these rules / questions that I'm talking about? Well, we're gonna go over them right now. So this is sort of the criteria that I want to continue to keep in mind going forward whenever making physical media purchase decisions. So first one is, do I own this movie already? For me personally, if I already own the movie, there is a small chance that I am going to continue to buy it. Because let's say it's a movie that I really like, but I don't own it. That's not the case for many movies. Like, as you can see, I have a large collection, right? Over 1,000 titles. So all of like my favorite movies, all the movies that I've ever given 5 stars or even 4 stars, I own them all. I make this really analytical. I go on Letterboxd, I look at all the films I've ever logged, and then I search that. I refine the search by movies that I've given the highest rating, and then I go down. And all the 5-star films that I've ever given, I think there's only like 100 or something, I own them all. And then you get into the 4.5s and the 4 stars, and I'm pretty sure I own all of those too, with a few exceptions. So just by virtue of where I'm at in my collecting journey, I already own, in some form or another, all of my favorite movies. So this first rule is a good way to kind of eliminate a lot of variability, right? If I already own the movie, I'm not likely to buy it. Unless that's where the rest of the rules come in. So on to rule number 2. If I do own it, is this a movie that will benefit from the upgrade in picture quality? Now, for me, and again, all these rules are my own personal criteria. This isn't how I expect you to do it. If that is how you do it, cool. This is just me though. So this is asking, I own the movie already, right? But should I spend the money to upgrade it because I think it will benefit largely from an upgrade in picture quality? So with me, with 4K, the way I look at movies, right? Take a movie like Interstellar. Sci-fi, space, epic. Lots of visual effects, lots of great sound design. This is a movie that the Blu-ray, for me, would not suffice. A movie like Interstellar demands to be seen with the best visuals and audio that you can get. That is not necessarily the case with something like, I don't know, The Hangover. And that's, you know, this is a comedy. We're going to talk about comedies a little later on and how I feel about them on 4K, which may or may not be controversial. But The Hangover is not a movie like Interstellar to where I need to own this on 4K. This might have a 4K. If it doesn't, I'm sure it's coming. The point is, I would probably never be in a position where, even for like $5, would I think it's worthwhile to spend that money on an upgrade for The Hangover. Because, for one, it's not a movie I really even watch that often, and 2, it's not a movie that ever needs to go beyond Blu-ray for my needs, right? So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3 is is there new special features? When I say special features, I don't just mean a handful of interviews or, some behind the scenes stuff. What I would deem really worthwhile special features is something like you would find in this Blair Witch box set from Second Sight. This box set contains a lot of special features. It has a new documentary. This contains essentially what you might consider an alternate cut of the film, which is comprised of deleted scenes that are sort of edited together in such a way that you're essentially given another point of view of the Blair Witch Project. It's sort of the scenes between the scenes that you didn't see that have been put together that add another sort of depth, right? And that's a pretty elaborate thing. Second Sight went to a lot of trouble to do that. They didn't even have to do that. Check out my interview with Mike Manello. I'll link it up here, where he goes a little bit more in depth about this whole thing. But essentially, the special features in this are well beyond anything that you might find in this, right? These two are they're night and day. They couldn't be further apart on the spectrum. As a matter of fact, I probably don't even need to have this anymore. But so basically, right, this was something to where when I heard about what was going to be included in this, it was a no-brainer, because this, compared to what already existed in terms of special features, makes this worth the price of the, admission, if you will, all on their own. Not to mention the fact that this has been adjusted to look the way that it was supposed to. It hasn't looked this way since it played in theaters. Every other home video release has sort of been inferior in a sense. Again, check out that interview. Mike Manello he breaks it down for people to understand without having to necessarily be an audio-video aficionado. All right, so that's rule number 3. Now for rule number 4, which is the price right? Here I have my Blu-ray copy of Sorcerer. This is a film from William Friedkin. It is a remake of another film. I think it's a French film called The Wages of Fear. Sorcerer is awesome. I bought this movie on a whim back in 2020. I paid $10 for it on Amazon, watched it, really liked it, really cool movie. I would highly recommend that you buy it. Now, that said, Criterion is having their 50% off Barnes & Noble sale right now at the time of this video. Criterion has a new 4K release of Sorcerer, and it looks really cool. It's got some cool packaging, and I'm sure that the upgrade in picture quality looks really nice. And I was prepared to perhaps consider indulging in the Criterion sale for that movie. I'm not sure if I would have gotten anything else, but at the very least, I might have come away with that. Until I was really pushed, my decision was pushed over the edge when someone made me aware that Amazon has the same movie on sale, the 4K, for $14, which I jumped on. Now, I don't expect this to last. By the time this video comes out, this deal might not be around anymore, but I'll try to show you a screenshot of it right here. Obviously, $25 is a good price for a Criterion 4K. Honestly, if you're not buying Criterions during the sale, I don't know what you're doing. Sales are the only time when you should be buying Criterion. Never pay full price for Criterion. But if you can pay less than half price, which is what I did for the Sorcerer 4K for 15 bucks, that's a no-brainer. And so the moral of that story is that generally, you should always try to put yourselves in either Discords or groups online where people can make you aware of these sales that tend to come and go really quick because a lot of people jump on them and then they're gone. Either it's a mistake and it wasn't supposed to be that low, or whatever the case may be. So it would behoove you to, if that's something that you're looking for, if you're someone who really likes to get the best possible price and never pay full price for something, that's something that you should do your best to, make yourself aware of whenever you can. So for me, I was probably going to get the 4K of Sorcerer from Criterion. This super low price made it to where I had to jump on it because I knew the deal wasn't going to last long. And so that sort of made the decision for me in a sense, because it is a movie that I do think would benefit from a 4K upgrade. It's a really beautiful movie. It's from the 70s, shot on film. Those things tend to look really good on 4K. So that made the decision for me there. So now on to rule number 5, which is how readily available is or was this movie? Here I have the special edition release of Dawn of the Dead from Second Sight. So as some of you may know, the Blu-ray of Dawn of the Dead is very much out of print in the United States. It's very, limited. It goes for a good amount of money. But Second Sight released, I believe this is a 4K of Dawn of the Dead a while back. And this is, made this movie much more available again. There's actually a much more premium edition than this one. I don't own that one, but that one's, I think, very much out of print now. But I think you can still get something like this without too much money or too much trouble. Now, I didn't buy this when it first came out, but the point is that when this did come out, prior to that, Dawn of the Dead was a hard movie to own on physical media in a higher picture quality. And if you wanted to, you were going to have to pay a lot of money out of pocket. So when this came out, it made the movie much more available. And that is a reason or an instance where I can look at a situation and say, okay, that's a really, important movie. It's Dawn of the Dead. It's one of the best zombie films ever made. And it's something that a lot of horror fans, such as myself, would like to own in their collection. Obviously, you're not going to see situations like this all the time. And I think that speaks to a larger thing, which is sort of my mentality now, which is you don't need to spend a ton of money all the time on any old release. I think that by holding yourself to a certain set of standards, asking yourself questions, and ultimately trying to figure out, is this going to be worth it for me in the long run? Is this something that I should spend my money on? That's going to be different for everyone. These 5 rules are sort of the things that I look at when making physical media decision purchases. It's something that I really like to advocate for and champion, is this notion of being selective and, not making it so that the first time you watch a movie is on physical media, because you get burned a lot of the time that way with movies that you'll watch once and never watch again. I think ideally, everyone's collection should consist of movies that will be watched again. I don't think there's any point in owning a movie that you're not going to watch. As time goes on, physical media, they're running out of movies to release. I mean, they really are. I saw earlier they're re-releasing Halloween 1 and 2 on 4K from Scream Factory. And I'm pretty sure it's these same discs that they already released, but they're just in a steelbook now. And, if you're a steelbook person and you really love steelbooks, then that's cool. But for me, I already own those discs. I don't need to buy them again, right? And, that's just sort of the climate. These companies know that by repackaging the same stuff, we'll buy it. And, a lot of us, I probably don't need to tell you, you've already made up your mind. You know what's going to sell for you and what's not, or what's going to cause you to buy things, rather. For example, today I saw an announcement for a 4K of The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And that's not a movie that really needs a 4K, in my opinion. It's a comedy. It's from the early 2000s. A Blu-ray of that is going to be more than sufficient. I really don't see any need to do that, to buy something like that on 4K. That's not me saying that, you need to feel that way as well, but, it's just sort of the way I feel. Anyway, guys, those are my 5 criteria for buying physical media. Let me know what you think about them. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or tell me your criteria. I would love to hear them. I'm sure there's a few factors that I left out. Leave them down in the comments and let me know what you think. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't. We talk about new movies, old movies, physical media, and horror in general. So with all that being said, guys, please take care and watch more movies.